Welcome, everyone, to Rotor Talk Live, Season 3, Episode 12, Zino 2 stability issues, Evo 2 release, and we're going to talk about the Mavic Mini still being so hot. Mr. Marcus Crawford, how are you this evening?
Hey, I'm doing good. We were just talking before we went live here about grocery shopping. My wife and I got up early to hit the, quote, senior citizen hour this morning, and it was an adventure, but we did get some groceries, and that was fine. Didn't fly any drones today. Weather was, we had rain off and on all day, so no drone flying today. But I'm going to give you one little clue here. I charged up a couple of drones just now. One of them you can guess is the Zino 2. The other one, the initials are MM.
I wouldn't know. Ron, would you have a guess on that?
Yeah. Pardon, Bill?
Would you have a guess on that? And how are you?
Well, I'm not a guessing man, but I'll let the audience figure it out.
How are you this evening, Ron?
Well, I'm doing well. Now, I also went to the grocery store this morning, got up early, crack of dawn, went out at 7 a.m., but I had a much better experience than Marcus. We went to the Acme Markets. Did I hear an echo?
Yeah, just for a second, that was me.
Okay, it wasn't me. I'm just saying it wasn't me. But yeah, we had a much better experience than Marcus did. We didn't see big lines, and the only thing that seemed to be sold out is toilet paper and Clorox wipes or whatever. Everything else was in pretty good stock. Yeah. So anyhow, I know people. This is this weekend grocery shopping. But it was a good day to shop, and it was also a decent day to fly, too. I mean, it still feels like winter down here at the shore. But I got out this afternoon. I took 2 drones out, and let's see. Let me do the initial game like Marcus. One of them was let's see here. It was a Z in it. It was a Z and a 2 in it. And the other drone was, I'm glad I brought this up because we're going to do a promo. The other drone had an S and a 2 in it.
There you go.
Bill, how was your day? Did you have a shopping adventure, or was it a good day to shop?
Well, there were 250 people. We had changed our mind last night and didn't get up, and found out there were 250 people waiting at Publix at 7 a.m. for the senior citizen hour to shop. And I said,
how close is the nearest Publix to your house, Bill?
Less than 2 miles.
Less than 2 miles. So that's normally
actually
good.
I have, believe it or not, okay. It's crazy how many Publixes there are, because the logic behind building a Publix is a Walmart doesn't go in if a Publix is there. That's why they build them everywhere around here. I have another one that's 2.1 miles from me in the other direction. So it's like, go figure. All right. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I want to give you guys an update for the state of Florida, and I just want to make everybody aware of this. We found out yesterday from our governor, he's been under a lot of pressure to shut the state down. He informed us that there are 191 flights a day coming from the New York City area into the state of Florida. And estimates are there's at least one person with coronavirus on each flight. And his solution was to have everyone self-quarantine for 14 days, which is not realistic. The projections are if the state of Florida isn't shut down by next Monday, our hospitals will be overrun. So I want to give you guys the lowdown on this, and our governor refuses to do anything about it. So keep us in your thoughts and prayers, guys, because Valerie and I may be hunkering down for the long haul for this. I think it's going to exponentially has the potential to get really bad down here. So, okay. With all that being said, we're going to talk about drones tonight. We're going to have a good time talking about drones tonight.
Virus-free drones.
Yes. Okay. And you guys remember how Tale of Two Cities, Charles Dickens' book, how it opened?
It was the best of times.
It was the worst of times. And it was the worst of times. Okay. And we're going to talk about Zino 2 stability issues. All right. Now, Ron had a different experience than Marcus did with the Zino 2 stability. So I'm going to have Ron go first here and tell us how his experience was on his, I'll call it, for lack of a better term, stability test with the Zino 2.
This weekend, I think it was Saturday, I went out to the beach and I took a couple drones out. It wasn't a comparison test. I just happened to be hovering 2 drones. I hovered the Zino 2 and the Skydio 2 because everything's 2 nowadays or whatever. But I thought that the Skydio 2 would show the Zino 2 up, but it didn't. I mean, it was a windy day, and they both got blown a little bit to the left and the right, or back and forth, however you want to say it. But as far as keeping their distance from the ground, I put them between 6 to 7 feet high. And that darn Zino, I mean, it took a while for me to get the Zino calmed down and over to that spot. But once I had in that spot, that thing barely moved up and down at all. And I'm going to say I let it go there for a minute or better, and it did. I'm going to say just as good as the Skydio did. The Skydio hung better from going back and forth, but as far as height, they were pretty much even. The only thing I should have filmed off camera is the Skydio. As soon as it took off, it got its bearings. And I could move it right over where the Zino took off, and it kind of like was all over the place for a couple minutes. Like Bill says, you need a good amount of open space to take off and land in Skydio too. But once I got it, homed in there, it held. But I got an update on that story. I'll make this quick. Tonight I went out and I took a couple drones out. Actually, the same 2 drones, the 2s I'll call them, Skydio 2 and the Zino 2. And this week I took the Zino up from one of the seawalls or whatever on the beach, and so I hit it straight, but there was nothing around the seawall, and that thing went straight up. I guess I don't know if I had to control the height. It went straight up, and it just hung there. It didn't move even on takeoff. I mean, it didn't move up and down. It didn't move side to side. That thing just took off and hung there like it was a DJI drone. So there was no updates today, so I don't know why it did better. All I could guess is this area had less magnetic interference than the other area I was flying at. But this baby was I didn't even do a hover test coming down because that takeoff, I was on a wall about 4 or 5 feet high. It took off, whatever, another 5 feet. It just stayed right there. And it wasn't real windy today, but there was a breeze going on the beach. So, I mean, just this is a couple hours ago. I mean, I could have been happy with hover. Can I duplicate this hover again? I don't know. But as of right now, it was a great day to hover.
It was a great day to hover.
So, Marcus, what are your most recent experience with hovering your Skydio 2 in various wind conditions and locations?
Well, I presume you're meaning the Zino 2, not the Skydio 2.
Oh, I'm always yeah.
No problem. No worries.
I won't mean to say Skydio the rest of the show. If I say Skydio, I mean to say Zino.
That's fine, Ron. I just want.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah. Well, Ron, all I can say is evidently you got the good one, because poor Jimmy Perez here in the chat, his flew away today. Had a disconnection and it flew away. So, Jimmy, I want you to know that's just the worst thing that can happen to anybody with a drone, and I'm so sorry to hear that. And any one of us would be gutted to see something like that happen. So, in any case. You just made me think about something, Jimmy. There is that Find Aircraft on the app now, and I've never messed with it. I never tried around with it. As long as you got battery power, it might help you. But anyway, that aside, Ron, to your question, you got the good one, evidently, because if you watch my video, you want to see the Hubsan drop. Let me tell you, that thing went up and came down. But listen, here's what I'm not doing is I am not trashing the drone. I really like that drone. So it actually, what I'm talking about, it moving around and hovering and stuff. Listen, for fine work, like for instance, you could do with your Mavic Mini, right? Your Mavic Mini is very stable and so forth. I just don't think the Zino 2 is going to be that kind of drone. And in fact, I was telling Bill, I think my Zino 1 is more stable than my Zino 2. I mean, it moves around a lot. It's got those downward sensors. It's always moving around doing something. So I don't know if it's just mine. I don't know. I know for a fact other people have had the same experience that I've had. So. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't even know what to say, but there is a ton to like about that drone. I mean, every time I fly that thing, you just can't hardly wipe the grin off of my face, because it's so fast, and we're talking about stability, but when you have it in the air It handles good. Now, I'm not going to tell you that it is as precise and handles precisely like my Mavic 2, for instance, because it doesn't, but it handles good, and it's got a good camera on it. And in my video, I did a couple of those. I did the orbit mode around that cell tower, and it did it perfectly. I did the line fly mode where you can set the drone to automatically fly in a line, and I had it going sideways. And now, why would you want to do that? The advantage of that is then you're able to focus on framing your picture. You're not flying the drone then, so you set it up beforehand. You can focus on framing your picture and getting all of those settings right in that kind of situation. And the drone does that kind of stuff very well. So anyway, that was probably more information than you wanted, Ron.
Oh, that was great.
See, I've been holding my Zino 2 here. That's the way it hovered outside today.
Oh,
and real quick, before we never get back to this, I never quite understand line flight. Marcus, you need to do a tutorial on line fly.
I kind of did a mini tutorial on that last video that I posted yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's like I said, well, it's just like what did DJI call it, Bill? I'm trying to remember.
Do you want to call it?
Most people call it headless mode, I guess.
Well, the Zino 2 has headless mode as well. This is an automated flight mode, Ron, that you're not touching the stick.
Right, but it's different from waypoints.
Well, it's basically, think of it as this, Ron. Starting at one point, ending at another. So that would be similar to a waypoint.
So it's kind of like a baby waypoint.
Exactly, and you set
a poor man's waypoint.
You set the angle of the drone, and that allows you to then and it brings up the map when you're doing it. So you know exactly where the drone's going to start. You know exactly where it's going to end in a hover. And then you're able to then focus on your camera and on the gimbal.
That's a good thing. Now, I got a question for both of you, okay? Because one of the things that I experienced with the Zino 1 was crabbing. And what I mean by crabbing for everybody is, I'm pulling the stick forward and we're, having the I'll call it the Hubsan drift, okay? How's the Zino 2 with that? Is it better?
Well, that's interesting, Bill, that you experienced that, because I can tell you my original Zino, they solved that a few firmware updates back, and it pretty much goes straight as an arrow. For the short answer, the Zino 2 is fine. I have experienced no crabbing, anything weird along those lines. In fact, I will say this. I'm kind of complaining about stability and so forth. The Zino 2 has so many less problems than the original Zino did when it was first introduced. It's not even a good comparison. Ron?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really notice hardly any crabbing. I mean, the sticks are quite as precise, as your typical DJI drone. But once you figure that out and you compensate your flying skills or whatever, you'll have no problems flying this thing straight or whatever. Again, it flies. Again, the sticks just not quite as precise as DJI, but again, in my mind, I can easily adjust to something that's less precise and make do with it. I mean, I can make all the maneuvers I want with the Zino 2, as far as manual orbits and moves and stuff like that. It just a little bit, different stick input than a DJI drone. But I think come next Monday, or whenever whenever the first day you get to fly it is, I don't think that you'll experience any crabbing or precise flying issues as you would on a Zino 1, or at least the early software version of the Zino 1. That's
really good to hear. One of the things that I have to say to both of you is one of the things that's been universal since you guys got it and have been posting videos is the quality of the video to me. Okay. The quality of the video rivals, I would say, a DJI drone. It really does. The details are really super sharp. I mean, I'm looking when Marcus is up there and the mountains are in the background, and the horizon is level. There's no issues with the horizon at all. I mean, and Ron, when you're at the beach, You know, those details are just super sharp. I mean, it really is, guys. You know, Hubsan does some things right, and I got to say this for that camera. I think they've done a good job with that.
Well, Bill, I want to, you know, you brought up your Dickens reference, A Tale of Two Cities. Well, I mean, with the Zino 2, I'm happy with the camera, but it's a tale of two cameras. When you have the camera not pointing at the sun, I'm very pleased with the camera. It ranks up there, you know, not with my, you know, Zino 2 Pro, I mean, my Mavic 2 Pro, but it ranks up there with my favorite ones. But the minute you get it anywhere pointed at the sun or the, you know, or any, you know, kind of bright light source, that's when it falls apart. Then it looks like, you know, then it's not anywhere near my favorite cameras. And I mean, I've tried going all the way up and putting the Freewell ND32 polarized filter on it, and it didn't seem to help much. Today I went out and played with the exposure settings, which I did the first day I had the drone. I thought it kind of made the video look kind of muddy or whatever, but we've had a couple software updates. So I'm going to look at I just flew right before I came home, got in the shower and got ready for the show, but I will look at it after the show and give everybody a full report. But again, for me, it's a tale of two cameras. The one camera, I love it. The other camera, you know, it's you know, it's not good, you know, and I don't think it's going to be a good sunset camera unless Hubsan could do a firmware update that'll maybe fix that. Or if I can figure out a way to dial in the settings between the exposure and the shutter settings and everything else. Marcus, what's your opinion of the Hubsan Zino 2 camera? I said the right drone this time.
You did. Well, so I am like you two. I'm impressed with the camera. I agree with what Ron said. It's not so good when it's pointed at the sun. The other thing that I have noticed is, Bob Rutter saying course lock in a DJI drone.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Give that man a free T-shirt.
That exactly. Yeah. If we had them.
When we get it, whenever we ever get a T-shirt.
Yeah. Gosh, I lost my train of thought there.
I'm sorry.
The camera. No, that was
the camera, and then you said somebody made a point about the course lock. You were talking about your impressions of the video quality. So continue on, sir.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I truly am a senior citizen. So
did you get carded this morning?
I did not get carded. No,
I thought with that beard, they may have thought you were 50.
Yeah, it's possible. A young man of 50. Heck, I'd settle for being a young man of 60.
I'd love to see 50 again. How about you, Bill?
50? I would take 55 at this time.
There you go.
All right, that's the end of the old man show. Whatever, Marcus. What do you think of that Zino 2 camera?
I love it. This is great. So the camera, the one thing that I've noticed, and Ron, I noticed it a little bit in your video, and I went back and looking through my raw video, and I've seen it in other people's Zino 2 video that they post. There is, upon occasion, you'll get a little micro vibration or shake in that camera. Now, it's especially evident when the drone is descending. When it's coming down, you'll see a little bit of that shake. And then I've seen it sometimes when the drone is coming to a stop. You know, often if you're in a hover, it's pretty good. You don't see it much, but yeah, I mean, it happens. So and that's something that has to do with those dampers, those silicone dampers that are dampening the gimbal. Evidently, I don't know what about the design, but they're not quite doing their job. Now, the other thing that people will tell you, and it's true, is often that's a sign of a prop being out of balance. And then, you know, when we had the kind of props that we had on the Phantoms, you could balance those props, but these props that are screwed on, if anybody knows how to balance them, I don't. I mean, there may be a way, but
Yeah,
You know, you're talking. It's interesting you're talking about those dampeners because that was a failure point on the X-Star Premium from Autel. Okay, because the camera resembled a lot. I mean, the way it sat in there and everything. That's why they had so many patent kind of concerns with DJI and Autel because it looked a lot like the Phantom. But they said that was a failure point, and somebody told me right away, you know, make sure you buy some more of those. And he said I would advise replacing them like every 3 months because they would just wear out. And what somebody had told me as far as the dampener is like, it's like now with the front wheel drive cars, you know, it's like the shock absorber. Okay.
Right.
And if you absorb that shock for the whole camera assembly while you're flying, and to make it, you know, not so it's like, just so it looks like you're just flying nice and straight and smooth, which you usually are. DJI has a real good dampening system, okay, on theirs. I will say that. But, you know, notwithstanding, you know, and the other thing that I wanted to talk about too, and I know Marcus actually ordered it, was the cable issue with the Zino 2 for the camera.
Hey, Bill, can I expand a little bit? I did not to about what you were talking about the dampers. Or
sure, go for it.
So, a way that I was able to prove that is with my original Zino, I had a DJI Osmo Pocket, and we all know that it has a really good 3-axis gimbal on it, right? So, what I did is I zip tied that baby to the original Zino, the Hubsan, the original Hubsan, and that way I had video from the Osmo Pocket as well as the camera on the original Zino. Well, the stuff that came off the Osmo Pocket, even though it has a nice stabilized platform on it, was just full of jello. Now, why? Because I just had it strapped on there solid. So all the vibration of the drone itself was really vibrating that camera. Now, when I brought the drone to a stop, hey, it would get pretty good. It would kind of clear up and get pretty good. So that's the same thing with those little silicone dampers. That's why they're in there, and they're supposed to isolate that that gimbal from the rest of the drone. So I just wanted to describe that for people. A lot of guys probably know more about it than I do. But
before we move on to the ribbon cable, yeah, I definitely have seen the micro, you know, stutters Marcus thought about. But on video, I'm probably going to drop tomorrow, where I'm flying, and I turn around, but I think it's after I turn around, I saw the gimbal take a big dive, Marcus. I mean, I saw it go boom, you know, right down, and I don't think it was due to a high wind. I mean, I've seen the drone that we'll talk about later on. I've seen that thing in high wind. It pushed the gimbal straight down, and every time I bring it up, it gets pushed back down. But the Zino 2 gimbal is very robust, and what I mean by that is a lot of drones, foldable drones, if you put the ND filter on them before you start the drone up, it can't pass the gimbal test. But the Zino 2 gimbal, it's so strong, you can put any filter on that thing. It has no problems passing the gimbal test with the filter already on. But again, I saw, and I think this happened without any type of ND filter on. It was I think it's from Saturday. You know, I just saw it just boom. It just went right down all the way on its own. And I brought it back up. I didn't have an issue with the rest of the flight, but so I mean, it has little shutters, but I've seen some. I'm going to call them floppy ones too, where it just boom, flops down. And I didn't have Marcus's function button set to bring it back up real quick at that point again. And I, you know, watch Marcus's video. I think it's a couple of videos ago where he demonstrates the function button. And I had a point I was going to say about my flight tonight. I was going to pass on some real good information, but the old man syndrome is already out my mind. So if Marcus, if you have another comment on the gimbal issues, I'll throw it back to you. We can throw it to Bill for the ribbon.
Well, so one more thought on that gimbal, and that is, if you look at my first flight with the Zino 2, when I was out at the Snake River Canyon, I was out over the canyon, over the Snake River. I threw it into sport mode, and I headed right straight back for me. And this is a really fast drone, folks. I mean, it really gets going. And yeah, I think we had a combination of that. So I'm putting the drone in a high speed mode, right? And then we had a crosswind, and boy, it threw that gimbal into a tizzy. But what I will say was, as soon as I got back over and I stopped and I hovered for a second, the gimbal recovered, and it found its level perfectly again, and it was fine for the rest of the flight. So I remember that could happen occasionally with the original Mavic Pro, not the Mavic 2, but the original Mavic Pro. The way that gimbal was designed, that could happen to you sometimes in high winds and in just the right situation. And then, like Ron said, we've all seen it with the Mini. So anyway, that's
no, and that's a good point. And my final thought before we talk about the ribbon cable is, Ron brought up a good point about ND filters and putting them on there, because the first time, and they weren't free well, they were some kind of aftermarket that I was given to test and to put on the Mavic 2. Holy crap. I mean, it's just like right away, it's just like gimbal overload error, gimbal, it's just like no matter what I did until I put the regular lens back on the Mavic 2, it wasn't going to do it. And then I got some free wells for it, and it was fine. Go figure. I mean,
yeah. I bought the Polar Pros for the Mavic 2 Pro, and you take the I'm gonna call it the lens off, and then you put the Polar Pro on instead, and it has no problems at all because it's the same exact weight.
The Anafi is famous for that, right, Ron? The Anafi,
you have to put them on hot. The Anafi will not pass the camera test with any of the freewell filters. Now, I've never tried another brand of freewell filter, but except freewell, but none of the freewell filters it fails. And most of my little drones, the Spark, it couldn't pass the gimbal test most of the time on with a filter on. And a lot of smaller drones have that issue, but that's what I'm saying. The Zino 2 doesn't fall into the small kind of drone, the mini drone that won't be able to do that. It not only flies robustly, but it has a robust gimbal. It may have some micro jitters, but it can move some weight around.
Well, in the last subject for the Zino 2 discussion tonight is the ribbon cable. Now, our friend Chad B, he experienced an issue with his ribbon cable, and Hubsan is probably sending it to him by slow boat. And our resident ribbon cable expert in the house, Mr. Marcus Crawford there, he found one on AliExpress, and he posted a link. And Marcus, if you could post that link in the chat tonight.
It's funny you mentioned that. Look at the chat.
Well, guess who joined us? Looked like Lauren's in the house.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, nice. Hey, excellent. Lauren's here. But I did post that.
Your timing was impeccable, Lauren, because we're just finishing up with Zino 2 discussion, okay? I think you timed it right. As far as that's
just lucky, I guess.
Your timing was impeccable. So,
Lauren.
But just to kind of tie things up with the ribbon cable issue, Chad had the experience where he lost FPV and couldn't figure out what it was, and then found out it was the ribbon cable. So, and apparently that's a simple replacement fix for us if we have the part. Now, Marcus was able to find that part for, I believe, about $10 on AliExpress. And he's already got one ordered, which is smart. And I think, I'm going to do that when I get paid as well, too. And, well, fortunately, I know Ron and Marcus haven't had that issue yet.
Which paycheck is that, Bill? The one from Uncle Sam or the one from Publix?
The one from Publix. That's on Thursday. That one's coming sooner than the one from Uncle Sam.
Hey, I heard news today. I hear Lauren's getting a paycheck, too, from the Prime Minister.
Oh, really?
That's what they said. They said everybody in Canada is going to get paid.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, okay, that's the first news I've heard.
Yeah.
Well, Lauren's got more money for his drone fund. So, your guys' thoughts, Marcus, Ron?
Well, the cable, I just think because we've seen enough failures with it, not a huge amount, so it's not like everybody's cable fails, but for $10, to be able to get your drone back in the air the same day, if it does happen to fail, why not? That's cheap insurance. Just keep that thing in there. And it is a user serviceable part. There's no soldering. There's things that I think any of us in here could probably replace it. So it seemed prudent, and I did put that link in the chat. Bill.
Thank you, Marcus.
Good. Thank you, Marcus. That's excellent.
It seems like a much less intensive repair issue than what Blue Skyver came across, where the micro USB port came off the motherboard inside of his controller, and when he tried to take it to a shop and have it repaired, soldered back on, he didn't have FPV anymore, so Hubsan did wind up sending him another controller. But so we've had a couple what we call them hardware issues. And, we don't know. I mean, Blue Skyver was one of the very first people in North America, at least, that has a YouTube channel that received one. And Chad B was pretty early, too. So maybe these models, maybe by the time ours rolled off the factory line, maybe these issues may have been taken care of. I mean, we'd like to think of whatever, but yeah. But because Laura knows this, even with DJI drones, there could be some QC quality control issues with some early models of any product, really, not just drone.
Oh, there's always teething problems, and in Bill's next segment, that's one of the things I'm going to talk about.
All right. Well, we're gonna touch real briefly here now on the Evo 2 now, which I don't know, Lauren. Do you have I know your place is an Autel dealer, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything as far as when you're gonna get those in?
Actually, to be honest, we're passing on the Evo 2.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but we are going to go with the 6K Evo 2.
Okay.
The straight Evo 2, like frankly, we don't feel there's enough advantage to even handling that compared to something like the Mavic 2 Pro. It's way too much for most customers to do any kind of a video processing and stuff. So we kind of put a feeler out in my group, and my group is pretty much local. We've got about 600 members there. And to be honest, there was really no interest in just the Evo 2. It was the Evo 2 6K with 1-inch sensor that drew a lot more attention. So we're actually just going to bypass that, because the 1-inch sensor one is only supposed to be 2 or 3 weeks behind it. So
okay, that's good, because last I heard about I have someone who had placed a pre-order. He had received an email that they wanted the balance. So, that indicates that delivery is imminent, I would think. So, that's what I hear on the AK Evo 2. So stay tuned. And, as soon as we find out some information. Now, our good friend Candano, Original Dobo, put out a video the other day on the Evo Dual, okay, which they're just kind of copying off of DJI as far as the name is concerned. And that was a pretty good video that he put out, by the way. So you guys want to check that out. And I got to say this, because I had the Mavic 2 Dual, and, the thermal imaging, I mean, it was fantastic. I had it for a week, was able to test it, and, it was fun. But the sharpness of the images from that compared to the Evo 2 Dual are like night and day. The Evo 2 Dual just crushes it. I mean, it's just and you need that sharpness and detail when you're using it for first responder type work, whether you're looking at a structure that's on fire, or trying to find a missing person in the middle of the night or day. You need those kind of details. But and I think Lauren will give a thumbs up. That's a very pricey drone. You're not going to find a lot of consumers going out and buying an Autel Evo Dual. Okay.
Oh, absolutely no way. Because if you're lucky, it's only going to be $4,000 to $5,000 less, or So I don't know. Yeah. Most people just don't have that kind of cash laying around, and realistically, it's a very specialized drone, and most people do not need thermal abilities. So unless you're really working in the industry, nice toy to have. but you better have a big wallet to do it.
Yeah.
Cliff's asking, what's the price of the dual?
They told me at CES, Ron, $8,000. That's what they told me at CES.
Oh, Lauren hasn't.
Oh, you got the chart.
Lauren's got all the prices there.
1 second.
While Lauren's looking it up, Bill.
Just keep talking. I'll jump in.
Yeah. While Lauren's looking that up, Bill, did you go to Autel's website today? Is any Autel Evo 2 available for sale today?
I did not go out to Autel's site today. I didn't have didn't have time.
Right. So we don't know, or check Best Buy or to see if anybody actually has it, because we were promised the end of March, and today is, by my watch, today is the 24th. So by the next time we do a show, Bill, it will be the 31st of March. So they've got 7 days to live up to what their promise.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we had talked about this offline, or I think we talked about it on Saturday on your special edition show that we had. That Autel really kind of needs to kind of like be on point here and get this drone out on time, because they had the big falter with the Evo, okay, and it comes out at CES, the FCC stuff comes out in February, and then it was like crickets until late June, early July that year, and it was like, look how many sales that they had potentially lost as far as that was concerned. So I mean,
I brought up the question: how many sales did they lose this year if they dropped the ball again? And they let DJI bring out the Mavic Air 2, the Mavic, whatever they're calling it. What if DJI beats them out with the new Mavic before they can drop the
that's a real point there, Ron. I hope they don't, because I want to see Autel succeed, because it helps DJI, it helps all of us. When a company succeeds, it helps all of us. Lauren, what'd you get for your information?
Actually, I don't have the dual on there.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I've got everything else, all kinds of parts and accessories and stuff like that, but the dual's not on there yet.
Well, Cliff, when we get that price, we'll contact you, and then you could use one of our purchase links when you hit that buy button.
Well, like I said, Rob, they told me at CES that it was going to be about $8,000.
Yeah, you're right on that, Marcus.
Marcus,
the price that I got as well.
Did they give you a review unit at CES to play with?
Well, I got to handle them. I didn't get to fly one, but they were flying, and I'm sure Lauren saw this too. They were flying the dual, and they had an example of that infrared camera, and it was, the resolution on that thing was really impressive. You know how you look at most infrared pictures and you just see a blob of a different color or whatever. This was very defined. You could see a lot now. And if you were in the construction industry, for instance, you were working with a power company and you're looking for hot spots, I can imagine that would be very handy. Search and rescue, obviously. Wow, they're always looking for that infrared when they're trying to find somebody out someplace. So, yeah, I mean, I think for the right people, that thing is going to be good as gold, and that $8,000 is probably a reasonable price.
Lauren, you had something you want to share?
When we get to it.
Okay, all right. Well, the next subject that we're going to be talking about is, okay, I entitled it "The Mavic Mini is Still Hot," and I think this is one thing I think we kind of, all four of us are in agreement. It's still one of these drones that, even though it was introduced back in November, it's still, I know, for instance, at the local Best Buy, you have to order it. Lauren, how are sales for the Mini?
We're backed up 75 orders right now.
Wow. That's great.
Because of the virus? Production down a little.
Other circumstances that I can't quite talk about, but like today we had 10 orders, for example, for the Mini. It's slowing down, but not really that much.
Okay.
Really that much.
What I want to do is this. Okay. We all know probably, and I think all of us would agree, probably the number one selling point on it. It's 249 grams. Okay. Now, I want to go around to talk to all of us to see, list a couple of other points why it's doing so well. Whoever wants to go first, jump right in.
Well, so we can just go clockwise. How's that?
Yeah,
you go.
absolutely.
Obviously the 249 grams with regulations that are upcoming, although it's probably going to be years before we see them. More important in Canada right now, probably than it is here. But the main attraction of that drone for me is that you've got a good long flight time with it. You're easily up in the air for 25 minutes with that drone, with that lithium ion battery. And the next thing is that compact size. It's just so easy to take that drone with you. So that, and I'm gonna make 4 points here. I just put them together in my head. So the next thing is the stability and precision of that drone. You know, we joke around about the Zino 2 or something. I mean, that Mavic Mini is in just a whole nother category. It is solid as a rock. It even in wind, so you can get it in the wind and you'll see it moving around. Now, if it's a strong enough wind, it can blow it away. But I'm saying if it's in a wind that it can cope with, it still holds its position. The other thing is the handling of it. Finally, the last point I want to make is a camera on that drone that punches way above its weight class. It's a 2.7K camera. The fidelity on that camera is just so impressive. Ron.
Thank you, Marcus. Yeah, I'm gonna echo what Tony Fast said in the chat here. I mean, when I purchased the Mavic Mini, the 249 grams, didn't mean much to me at all. Whatever. I mean, way down on the list of whatever, just because I mean, we didn't have that law yet, and even here it's proposed it won't be here for 3 years, and I'll have the Mavic Mini 2 by then, anyways. So it didn't mean anything to me, but size did matter. Size does matter, and the fact that it was so small, but still had that image quality, and had that flight ability. I mean, it basically, as far as precision flying, it flies almost like its bigger brother Mavics. In that small compact form. And yes, it didn't have the 4K. Everybody wanted 4K or whatever. But as Marcus alluded to, the video of that thing is still terrific, especially at the price point. I talked about the Zino 2 being a tale of two cities with the camera. The Zino 2 camera is better if you're facing away from the sun, but the Zino, I mean, the little Mavic Mini is definitely a better drone when it's facing the sun. Its camera handles bright exposure to the sun much better than the Zino 2 does. So, and it takes a great picture also. The JPEGs are solid out of it too. I mean, more than solid, really good. So for me, it was camera, but I mean size, and not only size. I mean the Spark was small too, but Spark also had that 12 minutes of flight time. Where this Mavic Mini, it has a flight time you get from your bigger drone. So that's one of the more important things, to me as well. So, the kind of, wrap it up. It's just the type of, it's so small. You could take it any place with you, even if you're taking a light bag, a light pouch or whatever, it can get a quality image. So, what do you think, Lauren? Are you a Mavic Mini owner, and are you a happy Mavic Mini owner?
Oh, absolutely. Like we've done some commercial work using the Mavic Mini because it absolutely punches out of its weight class when it comes to doing things like night video with very minimal amount of lighting. It is just amazing how much quality you get right out of the drone. No post-processing or anything like that. And Bill, if you share my screen for a second.
Sure thing.
Okay. On this weekend, I was teaching a class, and Ron, you were talking about shooting into the sun. This shot was done with a Mavic Mini, and as you can see, the sun is a really big part of that. Mm-hmm. It was actually what I call a forced HDR shot. But as you can see, like the sun didn't totally blow out the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's one of the amazing things with it. And I'm actually going to go to the next one here because, again, we're facing the sun. And this is a shot that I did. And as you can see, again, doing a forced HDR shot, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that picture.
There's something wrong with the ground, though, there, Lauren. There's a bunch of white stuff on it.
Yeah. Well, I think the clouds got dandruff or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I believe it was spring last weekend too, right?
Well, it was, it's like I always say, I sure hope that when summer rolls around this year, it falls on a weekend,
There you go.
And thanks for sharing that, Lauren. That's fantastic.
Great photos, Lauren.
Those are fantastic. And, that's one of the things, I'm going to, I'll take my turn here. One of the things that camera or the drone is underrated for is still pictures. So many times, and all of us would agree, the first thing we think about is the quality of the video that we get from a drone. But, we don't really think about the JPEGs or the stills that we get from it. And this drone kicks butt with still pictures. I mean, it's something you don't realize it until you get up there and you start taking some still pictures. And, and I'll tell you what, and Ron will probably attest to it, being that, I'll call him, for lack of a better term, a semi-professional photographer. It takes a lot of patience to capture a great shot. All of us would agree with that, and especially, if you're going after a sunset, your timing has to be right. You have to be at the right angle to catch the sun and reflections and everything. And fortunately, I've been right, and also fortunately too, I think DJI has compensated quite a bit in some of these terms, and especially. But one of the best sunsets I ever captured was with the Mavic Mini, and that was last December. And it was just, the sky was like this red, orange, pink hue bluish hue back there, and the Mini just exploded when I came back. And it was one of those ones where one of the other things that I really like, besides taking pictures with it, is its ease of being able to get that thing up in the air. Even with the Mini, even with my Mavic 2 Pro and the smart controller, okay, I've been able to get my Mini up faster. Okay, it's just for me, it's just like woo. My wife says, you may want to go out there and catch this, and I just come home from work. I dropped my bag. I grabbed the Mini. I grabbed the controller, got my phone. I was out the door, and I was up and going in like 3 or 4 minutes because, again, timing was everything with this. And I got up, and that was one of these sunsets that, you die for, because, it's just the way the sun was reflecting and the colors and everything. It was just fantastic. And I think for me, one of the things that I absolutely love about it is its portability, because I didn't have the GPC case at the time, but when we went up to Ohio in November, I used the case that came with the Flymore kit, and I put it in my overnight bag, and gosh darn it, it was so easy to take on a trip. I mean, it fit in my overnight bag. It was fantastic. And what a great experience it was. I got the drone up and I got a selfie with my granddaughter in it and all of us. I mean, that was just absolutely fantastic. So, those are kind of my thoughts about this. And I want to pose another question to everybody in the group. And, we'll start out again with Marcus here, is what one feature would you like to have seen added to the Mavic Mini that's not present there, whether it's software or hardware?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to stay away from hardware, and I'll tell you why. Because they could not add any hardware to it because of that 249 gram weight restriction. So, you're tempted to say obstacle avoidance, but obviously that's hardware, and they struggled to get the weight as light as they did. So that puts us into the software realm. And, it would be handy if it had a tracking function on it. I think particularly for the audience that drone, well, I hear you, Lauren. I understand your perspective completely. But what I'm saying is, if I'm thinking about the customer base that drone is aimed at, it's somebody that's out there on their bicycle or something like that, and they may want the drone to track them a little bit. And you would think that would be something that perhaps they could do with software. Although I keep thinking that maybe the drone does not have enough processing power to do that. I don't know. So anyway, that's my 2 bits. Ron?
I wanted to say something about before I get to that feature, that about the Mini's such a good drone, that if the only 2 drones I own were the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mini, that would kind of complete. I would probably have everything I really needed just owning those 2 drones. They cover everything that kind of I want to do. So that would be like the perfect tandem. Plus, if you went on a trip, like a once in a lifetime trip to Hawaii or someplace like that, you could actually fit both those drones in your bag and take them both with you, so you had a backup drone, which is kind of a nice thing. You can't say about a whole lot of drones. But back to your question, Bill, and Marcus, what you said you wanted better intelligent flight features as far as tracking, yeah. And I'm going to say, what you can't pick your white balance on the Mini. Is that correct, Marcus?
Oh, that's a good one, Ron. Yeah.
That's kind of given. I'm going to say the white balance feature, and maybe on the photos, maybe let us do a DNG photo or whatever, rather than just a JPEG or whatever. I think those 2 are reasonable. That they're not either one's going to be that intensive processing that it's going to blow the little Mini's processor up. So that's my 1.5 update. We're going to throw it back to Marcus before we throw it to Lauren.
No, well, I'm just saying, I take back my suggestion. I'm going with Ron's. He's
voting my way now. It's like we're back to politics. I've got
Marcus, you're too easy. Marcus, you're too easy. Be a man. Stand up for yourself.
but we're going to throw it over to our candidate from Canada, Lauren, here, and see what platform he's going to go with tonight.
Well, actually, I'm going to look at the dark side.
Oh.
If Bill wants to share my screen for me again.
Yes, I can. Let's.
Anyway, Haya and I were talking last night, and just out of pure coincidence, Josh Spires, who also writes for Drone DJ, actually put up an article the following morning, and we're starting to see a little bit more of this, and where the front blades are actually hitting the body.
Oh no!
And Haya's question to me was, is this something that's happening on a regular basis? And as far as I've been able to tell from my sources, it's usually only happening with very aggressive flying, and it's not something that most people will come across, but it is still an issue. Is this something that DJI can fix? No. And that is because it's a physical design. However, they may be able to fix that with something along the lines of a little bit stiffer propeller. Every case that I've done a review on, it has been either in sport mode or just flat out very, very aggressive flying in regular GPS mode. That being said, that's probably the biggest downside that I have seen so far. And I honestly, I love the drone for what it is. For you guys, the 250 doesn't mean much. In other countries, such as Canada, there's no need to license the drone. There's no need to have a license to fly the drone. It gets around all of our aviation regulations, with the exception of one, which basically means don't fly like an idiot.
That's a heck of a regulation.
Well, that left me out.
It basically you don't fly to endanger aircraft or people. Which, that's pretty much, like I say, don't fly like an idiot. But that's been one of the huge selling points for us up here Your guys' regulation is a little bit different in the fact that your under 250s still have to follow all the regulations. You just don't have to register, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
But here they don't have to register them. You don't have to have a license. It falls into what we call our toy class. So that's why we keep selling them just like hotcakes. But,
and I can see why. And it's like I said, at Best Buy, you can't walk in and pick one up off the shelf. I mean, I find that pretty amazing. Even now it's how many months since past November, and it's still like that here, which I think is great. And I really got to echo what Ron and Marcus said about the white balance issue, and that would probably be my second thing. Okay, one of the things I would like to see, and believe it or not, it's not a hardware thing, but I would really like to have seen hyperlapse. Okay, being able, like when Ron and I were at North Reddington Beach, and the hyperlapse that I got from there was just phenomenal. And I was able to, I was going super slow because it was in hyperlapse, and I made sure of that. And just what I got from that was just phenomenal. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a better sunset with a hyperlapse than what I got when we were at Reddington Beach. It was just so good. And again, the portability factor with this too. It's like, you can go out to dinner, and next thing you know, hey, let's go to the beach and fly. It's like zip, 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 boom, and you're up. I mean, it's like when you have the Mavic 2, it's a little more, I won't use the word obvious, but it takes some more maneuvering around to do that. So I mean, they're just that's a huge plus for me. Again, for me, that portability factor with the Mini is just off the charts.
Hey, Bill, guess what? Under $500 drone has hyperlapse.
What under five? Let me guess. The Anafi.
The Zino 2.
The Zino 2.
Has hyperlapse at a low price point. So when you get that Zino 2, you can practice up on your beach hyperlapses on a budget.
I sure will. I mean, well, unfortunately, we hear and I haven't substantiated that beaches are closed. You're not allowed to go to the beach. So
well, what if you flew to the beach from a park or a parking lot?
Well, if I were a bad boy and to break the FAA rules, I could actually. It's about 5 miles to a beach, towards the west. I mean, if I was a bad boy and decided to do a long range test of the Mavic 2, but I'm not a bad boy, so I don't do those.
Well, if you have good eyes, it could be line of sight. If you had like Kent Clark Superman type vision, that's
true. That's very true. Well, I'm not even going to go there as far as that's concerned. Guys, we've had I really like this talk about the Mavic Mini because, and I'll say this, one of the other things that I know why it's so popular is, and I know Marcus and Ron are admins in my Mavic Mini group, we get 30, 35 people sometimes a day join that mini group. I mean, it's just off the charts, the number of people that join that group every day, and the other group that's like that too is the Mavic 2 group, but the Mini group, I mean, it just seems it's just been a constant influx of people, and people really have been very good in sharing ideas and good things in there, and I really like to see that. So, I thought this was a great discussion to have. It's still a fantastic drone. It's something I think all four of us would highly recommend. Without batting an eyelash, It's and as far as and the other thing that I wanted to touch on before we kind of wrap things up is I really like the app. Okay, the app was when you look at the DJI Go 4 app, okay, it's a good app, but as we've discussed before, you have to go down some menus to get some things, and especially for a flyer, a first-time drone owner. It's like, oh, where's the compass calibration? Oh, where's the gimbal calibration? Oh, how do I set white balance? All these questions. It's super easy on the DJI Fly app. I mean, everything is right there. I really like when you're doing an auto takeoff or an auto, or return to home. You have to hold that button and make sure that that circle completes for you to do that. And it's just, I think it's a very clean interface. It's easy to read. It's easy to understand. And I know Marcus knows about this too. You know, the only beef that I have with that is the colors of the letters on there, because sometimes they are super hard to see if you have a bright day out there or against the clouds. So
Spot on, Bill.
all right. Well, you know, we're going to kind of wrap things up here, and I'm going to go around and, you know, we'll go again clockwise with some final thoughts and anything you'd like to share. Marcus, take it away.
Hey, thank you for that, Bill. Final thoughts are going to be like they've been for the past few days. Hey, listen, everybody is under stress right now with this COVID-19 thing. People are out of work. Let's have fun with these drones, and that gives us a little bit of diversion from it. Remember to be kind to your neighbor and everybody around you. If you're tempted to flame somebody on Facebook or something, don't do it. We're all under stress right now. Just let's all just take care of each other. The other big shout out I want to give is today I did go to the grocery store this morning. We needed to pick up some stuff, and that is for the supply chain that we have in the United States of America. The grocery store shelves are full. Of course, there's a few things that we've all been talking about, like, you know, disinfectant wipes and toilet paper. Those shelves are empty. But as far as food, nobody's going to go hungry. So a shout out to all the truck drivers, all the grocery store workers, let alone all of our medical personnel that are taking care of us right now. And didn't want to get too corny there, but it's the truth, and it's how I feel. Ron, go ahead.
Yeah, my thoughts are as much as I talk about how great the Mavic Mini is, I haven't flown a thing. I can't remember when. It's just not a wintertime drone for me here at the Jersey Shore because of the winds off the ocean. It's not a good wind fighter. I tend to fly some of my more robust drones like the Mavic 2, and even the Skydio 2 is a very robust drone in the air. Has no problem handling strong gale force like winds. And the newest guy in the collection, the Hubsan Zino 2, is one of the best wind fighters at all. Marcus had an incident a while back with his Mavic Mini where he almost lost the wind out Snake River Canyon. And we talked that would have been the Hubsan Zino 2. It wouldn't have even been close. It had been right back, whatever. So the Mini lacks a little horsepower. So again, for people that live in a cold winter climate, and I shouldn't even say it, because poor Lauren's the one with the cold winter climate. I don't know if he has I don't know if he's got the breezes like we do at the Jersey Shore, but but the summertime, the Mini will be my summertime go-to. And I have another thought for you guys. What if Hubsan came out with a Zino Mini? Hubsan, Zino 2 Mini, that would be something, huh?
Hell, I'd buy it, Ron.
Sight unseen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Bill's trying to hold it up here.
Gearbest already has them in stock, but
pre-order, Bill.
But they'll take 6 months to get here.
If you're lucky. These are things that take a long time to get here. I think I don't know if you guys seen this. You guys are all familiar with the DJI, the Osmo Pocket. It's a small camera with a gimbal in it. Well, Fimi, the famous drone making company, they make a bunch of camera stuff too. They're traditionally sold on Gearbest, Banggood. They're making like a little clone called the Fimi Palm that actually has built-in Wi-Fi and some of the things that people clamored for out of the original Osmo Pocket. And it's like I pre-ordered it again way back, like you will say beginning of January, but I think it's actually starting to ship now. So I may have it in my hands in a few weeks. So we'll be putting that through the paces to see how good it is. Does it really compare to the Osmo Pocket, or is it just like a cheap knockoff? So that'll be coming up soon. And Marcus made a lot of great segments out there for the virus, everything. So I'm gonna keep my eyes short. Just everybody out there, stay safe. Virus free. Just try to follow whatever your local government is advising. Just keep yourself safe and all the people around you safe too. Lauren, let's hear your final thoughts for the night.
Well, I will reiterate what you guys said is, we're all in this together. So let's stay safe and not just protect yourself, but protect those around you, whether you love them or not. Be nice. And on that note, I'm going to ask Bill to share my screen again when he gets a second there.
I sure can.
I just wanted to say I had a wonderful weekend. I was out flying 4 drones that day. I was flying a Mavic Mini and a Mavic 2 Pro. Some of you guys might be familiar with this one. It's the M210 RTK. And part of the reason I wanted to show this was because of Ron's comment about the snow. And yeah, so we were out flying. There's a few of us from our group. So flying the 210 as well as the Inspire 2. And I got to say, there's no better medicine for when you're in this situation than just to get out and fly. And we got out there. There's about 5 or 6 of us out there, and we just had a blast. And we honestly, the only reason we shut it down, it was too many people started showing up, and we couldn't do our social distancing. But anyways, get out there and fly when you can. Everybody be safe. And I sure hope that we all come together and help each other out.
Lauren and Ron and Marcus, thank you so much for those words. First of all, my first thing is I want to thank Metro Drones for their support of the channel. You absolutely rock. You've been a fantastic subscriber and a great friend and the channel, and not only our channel but Ron's and Marcus's as well. And we thank you very much for that. One of the things I want to say is, I'll keep this very brief. Before Mr. Rogers made it on the big time and had Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, he ran a local show in the Pittsburgh area, and it was on public television. And it was a precursor to the Mr. Rogers show. But anyway, he would have guests on every now and then. And one of the guests that he had on was a local art teacher who showed him how to do several art projects for young people. And that happened to be my father. Unfortunately, one day I'm going to search through the University of Pittsburgh archives because, as you know, back in the day, there was no such thing as videotape, and they would have to actually film this via 16 millimeter to actually capture this. So, and someone told me that I would need to search through the University of Pittsburgh archives to do that. And one day I'm going to do that because, my dad wrote several letters and got several letters back from Fred Rogers. And he had one thing to say. He said, in order to be successful at life, the first rule, always be kind. The second rule, always be kind. And the third rule, always be kind. And, in a time like this, put politics aside. It doesn't matter right now. It's time to be kind to everybody. And if you can do so with proper social distancing, please do so. There's a lot of seniors that could need help. And if you're able to do so safely and to be able to follow what your government says, by all means, do that. Another word of encouragement too, and I've been seeing a lot of people have been talking about this, is if there's a favorite restaurant that you patronize, especially a locally owned one that has gift certificates, go online and buy some gift certificates from them. That's a huge way to let them know that you're still caring and that you will patronize them. If they have email addresses or Facebook pages, leave some messages of encouragement out there. And again, for small businesses, because this is impacting everybody. It's just not, this, unfortunately, it really is the invisible enemy. We can't see it, but it's out there. And, if we follow these things, we'll get through this together. And I also have to echo what Marcus says. We have an incredible supply chain, and I'm very proud of the company that I work for, Publix. I saw it demonstrated, with hurricanes, and their plan has been in place. And this is like an elongated hurricane for them. And their distribution centers are running 24/7. We have 7 of them, up and down the East Coast. They're nonstop. Their employees. I talked to a store manager the other day. He said he had several drop out, not because they were sick, just from sheer exhaustion. And so that's why they have like kind of reduced the hours in the store, closing it early, to not only give them time to clean the store and to restock, but to give employees a chance to get a break and get some rest. So, and also too, our frontline people, our first responders, our medical professionals, our doctors, and our nurses especially. My mother was a registered nurse for almost over 40 years. These people are on the front lines dealing with this, and spending time away from their families. And do remember them, and do keep them in your thoughts and prayers. And I think Lauren kind of encapsulated things. Is with all this going on, with all this being said, when you push those sticks in and you hit that throttle up and you're up in the air, it's a great way to escape from all this. And if you're able to do so without, breaking any rules or violating anything, go for it. Take that time to do that, because, it's a way of escape. And it's something that provides a relief from all of this, drama that we're having right now. And it is unfortunately drama, but we will get through this. We will be stronger, and we will be better because of it, and I'm just not talking about the United States. I'm talking the world. Okay. And, this is another rallying point, I think, for the whole world to come together and say, we're going to beat this thing. So with all that being said, remember, it's never been so more important as it is now. It's a great day to fly, guys. And it really is. I hope everybody has a great rest of your evening. Be safe and take care.